Hi Class 5, so I'm here today to model turning your plan into the start of your character description. So you can't see now because I've got my blank page in front of me, but on my computer I've got my plan in front of me where I've just chosen two personality traits of my character, generous and thoughtful, and then from that I've kind of branched off and bullet pointed what their behaviour might be like and what their background is like as well. I've taken my own advice and I've thought about a particular thing that my character could be doing while I'm describing them. And actually, to make it easy for myself, I'm going to replicate the same situation that Stanley's in, where he's on the bus. And I'm literally going to describe my character in the same way that the author described Stanley, but obviously using my own thoughts and those slightly different personality traits that I've chosen for my character. So I'm going to start with behaviour and try and make a link as well to background. And I want to focus on the fact that Brian is thoughtful to begin with. So I'm going to start with Brian watching carefully and maybe then thinking, because I said he daydreams about his family. So we'll start with the character's name, which is Brian. And instead of saying watching or looked, I'm going to use stared intently. Brian stared intently through the glass, so I'm imagining that he is on a bus, just like Stanley was. Right, so now I need to think about what he's going to be looking at. The bus is moving, which I know from being in a car, you kind of get like that blurry picture. So the world rushed past, and I'm going to add a bit of character description here in terms of physical appearance, but just a snippet because I want the focus today to be on personality, behaviour, and character background. So the world rushed past his, and I'm just going to describe his eyes. So let's say wide because he's staring intently, and grey. He's kind of got grey blue eyes, so his wide grey eyes. So there I've got a little bit about the character's behaviour. He's watching carefully. That could imply that maybe he's quite a thoughtful character, or perhaps he's a bit troubled at this point in the story. We don't yet know. So now I'm going to try and link to family. So let's start with as he watched. I've got a fronted adverbial here, so I need to put a comma. As he watched, he thought about his family. Again, implying that my character is thoughtful and also showing that he's maybe got quite a close connection with his family if he's thinking about them. He thought about his family. You have to excuse my handwriting. Whiteboard is not the best for good handwriting. He thought about his family. Let's try and get a relative clause. I can use the word who. I'm talking about a person. And I've decided that the family are going to be maybe they're at home. Maybe they're worried about him. They don't know where he is. So let's say who was starting to worry. Who were starting to worry? No. Let's change that. I'm very fortunate. I've got whiteboard and pen. I can rub this out. Obviously, you would be using a ruler and a pencil. Who would be starting to worry. That's my extra information, my relative clause, so I'll finish that with a bracket. And I'm going to carry on with this sentence here. So I've got my relative clause there. It's kind of acting as extra information. So I've got to go back to the initial sentence I've started. As he watched, he thought about his family. Extra information. And he wondered what they would. No. And he wondered what they were doing. You can stop that sentence there. And what I've done here is I've kind of opened it up to maybe give a little bit more information about the family. I could go on to say at 5 o'clock usually they would be doing this, and maybe give a bit more background on Brian and his family. Or I could change course completely. I could go back to behaviour and I could think about, maybe he offers something to someone now, and I could think about how he's a generous character and start describing that. But that essentially is what I'm looking for. So for this sort of paragraph I've done here, I've used 3 points from my plan. And some of those points I can